Macros, Mindset, and Muscles.
I'm Coach James.
And I'm Coach Brittany.
We're here to give you the truth about health and fitness.
No gimmicks, no bullshit, just facts. Good morning, Phoenix fam.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
We are here.
We're doing something new.
Yeah, well, we are doing a new topic today, but we're also recording a lot earlier than we normally do.
Everybody's still asleep. It's still dark.
It's like 6:20 in the morning, and we normally do this like mid-morning. So this is a little different for us, but we've been attending a class this weekend to refresh our nutrition knowledge and things.
Get our
like
learn
that.
on.
So staying up to date with the most recent info and all that fun stuff.
We were actually supposed to sleep in this morning, but we just don't do that.
Well, that's because got up super early yesterday and I was so tired last night. I was asleep before 7 o'clock. So of course,
Just
our
left me all
bodies,
alone.
our bodies just like naturally like pinged wide awake at 4:30.
Yeah, that's sleeping in for us.
So here we are again. All right. So today we are talking about some muscle gains.
Muscle gains.
Mm-hmm. We always address fat loss. It's the most common complaint clients have when they come to us. They want to lose fat. But what about those people who actually want to gain muscle or gain weight in general? Because it's a different population and they have different needs. They have different struggles. They might feel insecure about their weight, just like somebody who's overweight. It's like one side is not better than the other. And I know it's easy for people to be like, oh, well, I wish I was as skinny as you. But that's kind of an insult. That would be like somebody saying to someone overweight, like, I wish I was as fat as you. Like, you would be extremely offended. Like, if you're an overweight person, if somebody said that to you. And those who typically struggle to gain weight feel the same way when somebody calls them skinny. They don't take it as a compliment.
No, and they feel their feelings are similar because despite what they've tried in the past, they've been not unsuccessful at gaining or putting on weight, and it's frustrating. And there's insecurities attached to that, and let's get into it.
Yeah, I know that like we've obviously had more clients for fat loss than we have had gainers, but the clients that we have had, like, they work so hard and, it's a different ball game. And I would say that the gaining aspect is harder than the cutting. Like when you cut, like, you're hungry and things like that. But when you're intentionally bulking, for people who are hard gainers, like you have to eat an insane amount of food to gain.
Yeah, in case people don't know, like I was a hard gainer. I was very thin my entire life, despite eating as much as I could. And then when I started this journey, it took so much uncomfortable effort for me to put on weight at first. Like it was very, very difficult. You're looking at me funny. Now, I don't have that problem right now.
You're talking, so I'm listening.
But it is, and when it comes to like cutting versus like putting on size, you can see when someone's cutting or going to lose weight, there's progress that can happen quickly. When you're putting on size and things, it's not a quick process at all. It is a very long day in, day out on your stuff every day for you to make that progress. And it's uncomfortable, very uncomfortable.
And people who are hard gainers, they typically have a pretty fast metabolism. So there's a big balance there with, activity and food intake. So like if you do too much, it's almost like, it almost goes against what you're trying to do. So you want to balance the activity, to minimize like the calorie. Like you don't want to burn off everything that you eat.
Right.
So,
well, and then there's some people that have a fast metabolism. They're also very active in their life, not doing cardio, just have a very active life, whether it's their job or just keeping up with the household and kids and things like that. So there's a lot of factors that come into this, and different and approaches that you can take so that you can be successful.
All right, so we're going to talk about like a few categories here when it comes to muscle gaining, and we're going to start off with the first is going to be like newbie gains. When most people, when people start out like in their lifting journey, like you have this huge like advantage to gaining muscle in the first year of your journey. So like I hate hearing people like, "Oh, I don't want to lift weights. I don't want to put on muscle until I lose fat." Like it doesn't work like that. Like it's actually really beneficial for you to put on muscle while you're losing fat. And in that first year, you have so much room for growth and putting on lean muscle mass, which helps your metabolism, helps you burn more calories, that you're leaving some gains on the table. So in the first year, based on some studies, like there's not a ton of studies, but um, Lyle McDonald, he puts together some like research and stuff, and he's like a go-to in the field. Based on things that he said, newbies for men, like they can put on 20 to 25 pounds in the first year, and women are about half of that. So we're looking at like maybe 10 to 13 pounds in the first year.
Nice.
And each year after that, it drops significantly. And then once you've hit like the 4+ year range, like you're putting on a negligible amount of muscle each year. So it's really hard to even like calculate an amount.
The first year is magical.
The first year is really magical. Like you're putting on a ton of strength, like your weights, you're increasing them like every week. You're hitting new PRs. You're feeling really motivated. You're seeing new definition because you are putting on, like 20 to 25 pounds of lean mass. This isn't body weight. This is lean mass. For a man, that is a lot.
Yeah.
10 to 13 pounds of lean mass. That's muscle, not body weight. You can put on 10 to 13 pounds. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be 10 to 13 pounds heavier. It just means that you're putting on that in muscle as you're losing in the process. And it's one of the only times like when you can really put on muscle while in a deficit, because like muscle protein synthesis is like so much higher in this phase, that you just have an insane like ability to put on muscle.
Yeah, your body doesn't know what to do. All of a sudden you've given it this new thing, and it's like we have to adapt.
The stimulus.
The stimulus, it's if we don't do, like, it's a survival. For you to survive like out in the wild, all of a sudden you've got to start being able to do all these things. So now your body's like, we got to get stronger. We got to put on some muscle, and let's do this. And that's why it happens so quick.
And men, they have the ability to put on more because they're men. They have more testosterone like in their body. So their muscle building like abilities, like, they were the hunters, like in our like ancestry, like they were the ones that did all the hard stuff. So like naturally, like their physiology, they just have more muscle on their body, which is, women, we were the child bearers, like we still bear the children, we're the caretakers. And while, yes, some of us, stay at home, some of us work out of the house. We need more body fat for survival, not more muscle. So women just naturally have a higher level of body fat. And you see this even like in bodybuilding and stuff like that, like women that get extremely lean, like they can't do that naturally. You can only get so lean naturally because it's just not part of your woman physiology.
Yeah, that first year is magical, and I remember going through it, and man, I was gung ho. I was going crazy. I was hitting the gym a lot, and I was eating a lot because I knew I had to eat more. No, I didn't go about it the right way. Like I said, I was a newbie, but I made some significant gains that first year. I wish I, you know what? I might just take a break, see if I can get some newbie gains again. Like take a little.
Take a hiatus.
Like, hey, body, we're just going to try this for the first time.
No, my first year was awesome too. I mean, I used to, like when I started lifting weights, when I finally was like, okay, you know what? I'm not afraid to get bulky because I know that that's not really what happens. I'm going to lift, and I'm going to lift heavy. I want to be really strong. I want dudes to be intimidated of me. Like that was my
I
mindset.
am intimidated by
That
you
was my
every
mindset
day.
going into it. So like I started deadlifting and my form was terrible in the beginning.
Oh yeah.
Most people they do, but I learned, I got strong like really quick. I had some people that would like help me with my technique and things, like other trainers. We would go back and forth, like correcting each other's form. And like I just would it was awesome. Like the first year was awesome. I wish I could go back to those type of strength gains. Now I've been lifting the same weight on lateral raises for like 6 years.
God, I can't imagine like 1 year putting on 25 pounds now.
It sounds glorious. Like
Of lean
you don't
mass.
even know like how awesome that
Yeah.
is
I mean, I can,
when you're getting started because
yeah.
you don't have that knowledge.
I mean, I can jump up 25 pounds now, but it's not
Is not
muscle.
muscle.
Out of all that, I might have like just a couple pounds of muscle, maybe.
I think you're giving yourself a little bit of too much credit there. A couple pounds of muscle.
If it was over a year and I put on 25 pounds of muscle, I think I might have put on like 2, maybe.
25 pounds on body weight.
Body weight versus like how much of that was actually muscle.
I'll let you live in your delusional world.
It makes sense. If you don't think about it,
So
it
those
makes sense.
newbie gains, don't leave them on the table. If you're just getting started, don't be afraid to gain muscle. It's going to help you. That lean, fit, quote unquote tone look you want, that comes from muscle. That doesn't just come from losing weight. That comes from having muscle and getting leaner so you have a lower level of body fat that you can actually display the muscle that you have. If you have more muscle, you get that definition sooner. So even at a higher body fat percentage, like you can still have visible definition, if you have more muscle. So keep that in mind, if you're just getting started. Don't be afraid to lift the weights. Don't be afraid to put on muscle while you're trying to lose fat. You can do both.
Don't be afraid to eat.
In the beginning.
Eat.
Well, for newbies, it depends on the goal.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying you got to eat.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have to eat, but we're going to get into the specifics of that here in a minute. So don't be jumping ahead.
Don't be jumping ahead. Anyway, so knowing this, first year, what's possible, take it serious. Like take advantage of that. Like your first year, like you can do some awesome stuff. Like 12 months can really like make a huge difference.
Yeah. In that first year, gosh, if you're not going up on your weights every week, like you're not pushing yourself. If you're lifting the same 5-pound weights, that you started with like a month later, you're really not.
Oh yeah, you're
maximizing the benefits
you're always
that you have
like
here.
Like moving up. Like it's crazy. It really is crazy. And if someone like really took it serious for like, what, I'm gonna do this for a year, like, or just whatever, like knowing what's possible and really hitting it hard, like you could make some huge strides.
Yeah. I can't get over it because a lot of people when they start lifting weights, like they don't know how to push the weights or they're scared to push the weights and they just get in this like complacent little world where they're lifting the same weights for like months on end. In the beginning, like obviously when you get to a certain point, like you have to push through those like stick points. But when you're getting started, like your weight should be increasing all the time. For our clients, like when you start with us, like and you're, doing the top range of your reps for each set and your weight stays the same week on end, like you're not pushing yourself. You're not maximizing the benefits that you could get from this.
Yeah.
So I think that's important to know. If you're getting started, like pick those weights up, push them. If you're in a rep range of 8 to 12 and you hit 12, 12, 12, like the chances that you can go up the next time you do that exercises
100%.
is like 100%. Like you could absolutely go up.
First of all, if you're hitting 12, 12, 12 for all your sets, then you're not, you just need to grab some heavier weight anyway. If you're hitting all your sets, all your reps, and with ease, like then you're lifting too light anyway.
Yeah. And to maximize, your newbie gains, like you want to push that weight. So moving on, let's talk about the Jameses in the world.
Jameses?
Yeah, the Jameses in the world. The hard gainers, all right?
I didn't know what that meant. Like I was sitting here like,
what?
What topic is she about to get on about that I have?
No, so, the hard gainers in the world, your client, my client, Hallie, like we have some people who are hard gainers and it's really frustrating. Like we talked about, they want to put on muscle and it's just not as easy of a process. They
Mm.
want to put on weight. And people that typically want to put on weight, like legit want to put on weight because they're insecure with the number that they see on the scale, which again, this is a process to, we work on mindset with this because we don't want them to be so obsessed with the number. We want to focus on what they're seeing, and kind of shift it that way. But the scale is still a tool that we can use to make sure we're trending in the right direction. So a lot of people will come and they'll say, "Oh, I've tried everything and I can't gain weight." Like that's the most thing. It's the same thing that people who like, are trying to lose fat say like, "I've tried everything and I just can't lose weight." It's the same for people who are trying to gain. Like, "I've tried everything, I can't gain." Well, and the same thing kind of goes like, well, you haven't like you have done everything,
To your
but
knowledge,
to your knowledge, yeah,
from what you know, like you've tried everything that you know,
that
like
you can do. And they'll often be like, "I eat so much,"
you
and
don't.
the truth is like they probably do feel like they eat a lot.
Yeah, they feel that.
They feel like they eat a lot, but in reality, if you're a hard gainer and you're not gaining, you're not eating enough. That's the truth of it, right? So if you're staying at the same weight and you're trying to gain and you're eating X amount, then you're at maintenance. If you're eating so much but you're still losing, then you're in a deficit for your body. You need to eat more. And that's what it comes down to with gaining, right? Obviously, like if you're trying to gain muscle, you don't want to be in such a surplus that you're putting on a bunch of body fat. But you want to be in like a slight surplus. And this is going to be different for every person. And it really takes you being in tune with your body and your nutrition to really like maximize the benefits here.
Yeah, and when you're new to this is the part that can be a little uncomfortable because you're used to eating a certain amount, and your body says, "Hey, I don't need any more food," or "I don't want any more food," so you don't give it any more food, and then you wait for it to say, "Hey, I want more food again." This does not work. So for you to put on size, you're going to have to be strategic with it. Like there's going to be times where you're eating and you're
Force
not
feeding.
hungry. That, or you're full and you still need to eat a little more. Or I don't really feel like eating when I first wake up. Well, guess what? That's maybe what's been holding you back this whole time is that you're skipping a meal here, and let's start working on that. Let's start adding a little food here, and then we'll see how that goes. But it's going to be discipline in the food. It's not like, and it's not a quick process either, but it's a discipline that you will be able to gain weight. You will be able to put on size and muscle and strength.
But are you willing to do what it takes to get there?
Well, this is the biggest problem when it comes to hard gainers, is because this is a little bit of a slower process. It's uncomfortable. And because of that, the results aren't as quick as versus like you're saying you're going to try to lose weight. Because when you lose weight, sometimes just changing the diet, you're going to drop some like water weight initially. You're not going to do that. You're not going to make a significant weight gain right off the bat. And say you're in a surplus and you're doing well, and then you're just like you stop with the food. Well, then now you're back into a deficit or back to maintenance, and then you have to be on it every day, and it's just day in day out repetitive. But it
It's
works.
taxing.
It's
It's a
taxing.
lot. And if you don't track your food, and again, like I'm not saying that everybody has to track their food, but when you know what your intake is, it really helps you. Because if you're getting in 2,000 calories a day and you're maintaining at that, then like okay, let's try on the small end, let's add, like 100 to 200 calories and see how that goes. And you stay there for a while and you see how your body responds and maybe you gain, maybe you still are at maintenance, and then from there like I can add more. And there's ways around, the volume of food that you have to eat when you're trying to grow. Obviously you want to hit your nutrient goals, when you're trying to grow, you don't need as much protein as you do when you're cutting. When you're cutting, you want to eat more protein to help preserve muscle mass, because when you lose, when you're in a deficit, your body pulls from fat stores and from your muscle, to help you lose weight. But when you're bulking, you don't have that worry for muscle loss. Like, you're actually building, so you just don't need as much protein. You can put more of your macros, like more of your calories, into your carbs and your fats. And, higher fat content, because fats are more than double the calories that, carbs and protein are. Can you can increase your food volume without, or your calorie intake without too much volume, is what I was trying to say.
I got you. And you can.
But that doesn't mean go crazy with it either. Like, you still want to be intentional, with what you're taking in, so that you know what I'm trying to say. Like, you can maximize what you're doing.
And with people who've struggled with this or were unsuccessful in the past, like, they weren't very intentional. They didn't have a plan. They would eat, and then they get busy, and then they skipped lunch, and maybe had just a little something at dinner, but the next day had a big meal here, and then it's not consistent, and that's why you think you eat a lot because you can put away some serious food on one meal, but then you go 8-9 hours without eating again. So it's working on that consistency and knowing what you're getting. Like you said, when you're tracking, what you have, and if the scale's not going up, your strength's not going up, then you're not eating enough. So whatever that magic number is for you, you have to find it. Anyway, that's what James said.
That's what James said.
That's what James said.
Yeah. Like we say, if you can track, if it's not a detrimental thing for you, it'll be the easiest way for you to make these changes. And tracking, whether gaining or trying to lose, it's not something that you have to do, forever. It does help you to understand what your intake is, what portion sizes are, things like that. And when it comes to gaining, a lot of people, you're going to hear things, out in the fitness space. You're going to hear clean bulking and dirty bulking.
Ooh.
And we're going to kind of talk about that a little bit. We don't really like to use derogatory terms to describe food. We work with lifestyle clients. A lot of our clients, have questionable relationships with food, and we're trying to break the guilt associated with a lot of these behaviors and terms and stuff. So that's how we choose to coach. However you choose to refer to things, that's between you and yourself. But when we're talking about clean bulking, right, we're talking about choosing foods that are nutrient dense and they're quote unquote clean. We're talking lots of fruits and vegetables and proteins and, complex carbs, sweet potatoes, brown rice, quinoa, things like that. These foods, the volume of food that you're going to have to eat when you're bulking is significantly higher than if you were doing a quote unquote dirty bulk. Okay. So dirty bulking, would be eating more processed foods. Maybe you're eating more snack cakes, more Pop-Tarts, more Rice Krispies. You're eating fast food more often. And, there's nothing inherently wrong with this. You just might not feel the greatest. Your gut health is going to, be questionable, things like that. But it is an easier way to get in calories.
100%. But there's people use the term dirty bulking, and it's almost as an excuse to really not track, because when somebody's dirty bulking, they're not counting anything. It's I'm gonna eat all this, whatever it is. I'm gonna eat a whole bunch of it because I'm trying to gain weight, and you're probably gonna be successful if you eat a whole bunch of very high calorie dense foods that are processed and things like that. But the idea or the vision that you see in your head of okay, well, me at this weight, this is what I think it's going to look like. Or if I'm going to put on this much muscle, when I'm at weigh this amount is not going to be what you see.
Well, and it's kind of, we've discussed this in another episode, it's like we're, like before, like when we first met, right? Like you're like, I want to weigh X amount, right? And you had this
I never
vision.
said that.
Yes, you did.
Wasn't me.
You had this vision. I'm totally telling you how you felt, but I know because this is the same mindset that I have on the opposite end. But when you picture this weight, like you picture yourself looking jacked, like you said, Captain America, right?
Right.
Like 200, you're like 220 pounds. Like if I'm 220 pounds, I'm going to look like that,
Yeah.
So there's a big like disconnect with like reality and like your fantasies, you're thinking it's going to be this when the reality is you might look more like the fat Thor.
Yeah. How dare you? Wow. Fat Thor.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
I think I like that version of Thor better. He's more relatable.
That's because nobody else is trying to marry Fat Thor. That's what you got me spitting. I'm so angry right now.
But you know what I'm talking about, right?
I kind of felt like Fat Thor when I hit 230.
Yeah, but you weren't.
Yeah, I was a beast though.
Yeah.
Well, I was strong. But no, it is. It's in your head, like you associate like this number on a scale to a visual look, and that does not ever work out. It does not. It doesn't. Whatever number you think you'll look super lean at, you won't. It's probably much lower than that. And same way with the number on going up, you think you're gonna look so jacked and tan and like strong at this weight. Probably not. Like it just doesn't work like that. And I've learned from on both ends of it. I thought if I dieted down to X amount, like I'm gonna look shredded. I'm gonna look like just badass. And I didn't. Turns out I had to go down much lower than I anticipated because in my head I think I have this much muscle. Well, really is I have much less muscle than I thought. And that's very.
And that's a good like truth for people too, because when you've been lifting for a long time and you have put on muscle, you think that you have more muscle than you really do. And when you go to cut to reveal that muscle, you're like you said, you have to get a lot leaner than you realize because you actually have more body fat.
Oh, there's people walking around, I got 20-inch arms. Well, you're 30-something% body fat. If you actually dieted down, your arms are much smaller than you think they are.
Yeah.
I know me, like right now, my arms are a certain measurement. When I diet down, I'm gonna lose about an inch just because there's fat there.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just me just rambling, but that's just Fat Thor on the mic. Just living off Cheese Whiz and sad thoughts, Wow. You're a dick.
I didn't mean that, like, I'm just saying that's not what I'm
Fat Thor.
I know, but that's not what I'm like saying like that you were. I'm saying like you think one thing, but in reality you're more like another thing. And I'm not saying that you are Fat Thor. So I'll throw this pencil at your eye.
Slightly overweight Thor. There's muscle under there.
Thor gets his shit together eventually, okay? It's not a big deal. And then bam, he's regular Thor again, which is exactly how it is for you too. So like if you're ever unhappy with where you are, all you have to do is like just be you again and then
be me again. Stop being me.
I am really fucking up over here.
Yeah, you're not on your game early in the morning.
Oh, no, but you know what I'm saying. Don't be
everybody.
Don't be a drama queen.
Everybody, I'm not taking it personal. She married me. That she knew what she was getting into, so it is what it is. But anyway, back to the hard gaining.
So obviously with a hard gainer, like you got to eat more. You've got to be intentional with your food. You've got to make sure you're hitting your food intake day in, day out. Like if this is your goal, like you have to take it seriously. It takes a commitment. Like there is a commitment to this. And if you're not willing to commit to it, then you need to come to terms that, you are where you are.
Yeah. It's also like I like what you were talking about earlier because you have been a hard gainer and you may be on the leaner, thinner side. These small, what am I saying? Small gains are not going to be small gains for you. They may be small gains for somebody else, but if you put on just a couple pounds, like visually, you'll see it in a good way. You'll feel it. Your clothes will fit differently. Your shoulders may start capping. Like
Well, just like Hallie's picture that she sent me the other day, remember?
yeah,
And we were talking, like, she's very lean. This is my client, Hallie. She's my newest in-person lady that I train.
she's awesome.
She's very awesome. I love her. And her intention working with me is to gain muscle. She is a lean person. She is a hard gainer. You know, any little change that we make with her, like, we can tell how it impacts her body pretty quickly because she's so lean. She started with me in January or whatever. Anyways, January?
Not long ago.
Yeah. Anyways, she's been with me for like 6 weeks, something like that. We started her with creatine right away because, she's lifting, she's training hard. Creatine has been proven to like increase muscle size and help with strength and stuff and recovery. So we wanted to implement that. And, between that and the intentional food intake, which she's not a newbie to tracking, so this wasn't like a big deal to her. And the lifting, like, she is seeing changes in her body already. Her arms, her shoulders, like, they already look, improved, even though the scale hasn't changed like that much in this time. We're still working with the nutrition aspect on the gaining, but we don't want to put on a ton of body fat either. So we're trying to do this like in a smart way. But like you were saying, the leaner you are, like, you'll notice these changes.
Yeah.
Like, you'll see these changes. You'll feel these changes.
Yeah. And I mean, for a hard gainer, the best way to put on weight is muscle. Like, I mean, that's just the easiest, not easiest, but for me, like, that's how I was able, the scales start to go up. I mean, I'm putting on some muscle and, no, she's awesome.
So on top of eating, you have to lift. Like, if you want to put on muscle, you got to do the right type of workouts, and doing these boot camp style classes
Ain't gonna do
that
it.
are cardio focused, your heart rate is like really intense the whole time. More cardio based classes, like, you're not going to put on the muscle.
Like Zumba, circuit training.
If you were intentionally lifting, like, I'm not saying that there's no muscle growth aspect. Like, I'm sure there's some, but you're not going to maximize.
That's not going to be the best thing for a hard gainer.
Yeah.
At all. Stay away.
You want a little bit more, in terms of heart rate, like low intensity, you want to be lifting weights. And I'm not saying that like your heart rate won't spike when you're, in a hard, heavy set, but it shouldn't stay that way through the majority of your workout. So making sure that you're doing the right workouts for your goal too. When you're lifting weights and you're trying to get stronger, you should be resting between sets. It shouldn't be a fast-paced workout like we're saying, like boot camp style workouts. There's nothing wrong with them. If that's what you like, then that's fine. But when your intention is to put on muscle, then you need to know what you're doing. So make sure you're resting enough between your sets. If you do a hard set and, maybe you barely finish your reps and then 30 seconds later you're back to the next set, like, you're not really maximizing what you're supposed to be doing.
Nothing's recovered that quickly. Not for you to be able to exert yourself to your maximum capacity to get the most out of that next set. That's the whole thing. You lift, you let your body recover from it, your heart rate starts to come back down. Then you do it again,
and the lactic acid starts coming out.
I wish we could put that in the podcast. You just did.
Like the lactic acids are coming back out of the muscles so that you can lift again and get the most out of your next set. Like, if you rush back to your set, if you're only resting 30 seconds, then you're not going to be able to. If you're really challenging yourself with the weights that you're using, like, you're not going to be able to pick that weight up for the next set. You only rested 30 seconds.
Yeah, that's not happening.
So, you want to make sure you're taking your rest. If you have a coach and your coach puts 2 minutes rest between each set. That's not a suggestion.
Mm.
That's what your coach wants you to rest, Um, so, you're doing the right exercises, you're eating enough, you're lifting heavy, and, you're not doing a bunch of cardio either. And I'm not saying don't do any cardio because cardio is, great for heart health, but you want to do like the minimally effective dose of cardio.
So, and the reason is the more energy you're putting out, the more you're going to have to bring back in. So, if you're doing X amount of cardio, like that just means that's that much more food you're going to have to eat for you to make these gains that you're talking about. So every time, like, you're just kind of, I don't know, you're just don't do it.
Yeah.
Just don't do it. I don't have any fancy words. It's too early. You do more, you have to eat more.
Exactly.
Period.
And you remember your goal is to gain.
Yeah.
So, if you want to do an hour of cardio and you're willing to eat that much more
Go for
on
it.
top of the food you're already eating, then by all means go for it.
As long as it does not interfere with like you recovering from your other workouts and you're recovering and you're sleeping and you're doing all these other things and you can do that and eat all the food for it, power to you.
Yep. But when your energy expenditure is lower, meaning you're burning less calories, it's a little bit easier for you to gain. So keep that in mind. So that's for our hard gainers. We talked about newbie gains. We talked about hard gainers. Now, a lot of times I see this all the time on social media. It pisses me off. Okay. And I'm going to talk about it because it falls into this category of
Let's
gaining.
talk about it.
So you're going to see a lot of bullshit and you're going to see a lot of social media influencers and even some coaches who have no idea what the fuck they are doing. That they're going to be like, if you want to grow your muscles or if you want to grow your glutes, do this, right? If you're trying to grow your glutes and you're not a newbie, so you're not getting those newbie gains, and you're not intentionally eating more, you're not going to grow that muscle group.
Nope.
Your muscles need energy to grow. They need calories to fuel that growth. And if you're not eating enough to grow, it's not going to grow. You're actually going to
You're gonna lose.
You're going to lose muscle. Okay,
You're gonna have less butt.
If you're in a calorie deficit and your goal is to lose fat and you're not eating enough, you're going to lose some muscle along the way. So keep that in mind. If your goal is to grow glutes, walking on the Stairmaster doing kickbacks isn't gonna grow your glutes.
Heavy lifting.
You need to lift heavy. You need to lift often. You need to be intense. You need to be intentional with the movements that you're choosing too. You don't need to create some crazy ass shit. Like the basic stuff works,
That's what I hate the most on social
squatting,
media.
hip thrusts. The goats for glute growth. And while squatting, and I'm going to go ahead and say this, like a squat is a quad dominant exercise.
Yep.
With the squat, and it doesn't matter how your feet are, right? Like if you're doing a sumo stance or a regular stance, like it's still a quad dominant exercise. And as a matter of fact, when you do a sumo squat, you're actually working your adductors, which is your inner thighs, secondary next to like your quads. So making a sumo squat, just because you feel it more in your glutes, it doesn't mean you're working your glutes more. So that's my little preachy moment. But you want to do, you want to do these basic movements. Like you don't have to recreate the wheel to be effective.
I can't stand that when it's like all over social media when they've just doing these movements and it's like 5 different things balled into one. It's like a squat / curl up to press down curtsy with a band and like.
I think one of the things that gets me is like I think we've mentioned this in another episode too, but that stupid mini fucking stepper. Okay, that you see you know exactly what I'm talking about because I've told you that thing that's all over TikTok shop, and it's like, ooh, if you want to grow your legs and your booty, do this, and they're like stepping on the stepper. Like that's not how muscle growth works. I'm glad that this stepper is going to get you more active,
yeah,
but you're not targeting, like you're not growing by being on a stepper.
you do know that like you have a curb outside you could use. Like,
That's what I'm saying.
you don't have to buy something.
Go to the stairs. Like it's the same thing, It's just people make these videos and this content to target your emotions, right?
Oh yeah.
Because they know like if I say this, like people that struggle with this will probably buy this.
Hmm.
So, saying like, "Oh, you don't like to or, do you want to target your muffin top? Do you want to target your mama pooch, your fupa? You know, oh, this awesome product does that. Like, that's not how it works. So just don't fall victim to that type of stuff and understand that when you're growing, like when you're trying to grow your booty, or, for the guys, you're trying to grow your chest, like you have to eat enough to support that growth and you got to lift heavy and you got to push yourself in the right ways to see that growth.
Yeah, and then oh god, with me and my chest, like I mean, I've just been. It's hard eating all the food and the training. I've had to also accept that my own genetics and the way my body mechanics are, like my chest just doesn't look like somebody else's. No, not giving up and not saying I'm not pushing it hard and not doing all those things, but I have, you know, uh, I have a different structure type than most people, and I'm okay with it now. Like I'm also going to keep pushing it, trying to grow it, and all that things. But like, this is my chest. This is what it is. Despite me putting all the effort I can into it, year after year, this is it.
Well, and you bring up a good point too, because a lot of people will see somebody else and they'll be like, I want my chest to look like his, or I want my booty to look like hers. Or like, they see their favorite influence and they're like, drop your booty workout. Like, I
Yeah,
want your booty.
yeah.
And it just doesn't work like that. Like, your genetics are not the same. Your body is different from their body.
Your body mechanics are different. The structure is different.
Yeah, even if you do exactly what they're doing, you're not going to see the same results. Like, your body still will not look the same as theirs,
Yeah,
you
like
know?
I'm, I'm still making gains. I'm still, making, putting on size and all those things, but I'm limited by my, like you said, my genetics and my structure and my just the way my body actually is put together, and that's what makes mine unique versus somebody else's. I have better shoulders than some people. Like it's just like, but I'm more shoulder dominant. Like I just know that. Like I think that's been the biggest change in me with lifting is accepting, not accepting, but really just understanding my own body and appreciating my strong points and knowing my limitations and just being realistic with like progress and gains and um what to get out of all that.
Well, like, stop comparing yourself. Like,
Yeah, like I
that's what you've learned to do. Just like you can't compare, like, we just
y-
can't compare where we're at in our journey to somebody else or
right,
their body type. We don't know what their genetics are like. We don't know what they're doing to get those results. I mean, we don't know anything. All we see is a picture,
right,
you know?
yeah,
Like, you
and
don't know the type of lifestyle that person is living or the dedication that they have, don't have, surgeries. Because even
injuries.
like
Like
even guys now get pec implants.
oh yeah,
Like
they get pec, calves,
it's a very common,
ab
yeah, it's a
implants.
very common thing. So like you just don't know like what is real,
Oh
what
yeah,
is not. So like comparing yourself to somebody else is not, it's not the best way
you
for you
can't
to get
compare your
progress.
progress, yeah, to somebody else's. And there's even guys making themselves taller now. That's insane to me. That is insane. Like I can only see like how lengthening that bone, how many issues like muscular issues you're gonna have. Like you
Good
now
point.
you've stretched this muscle to a length it's never supposed to be. Not grew it. You didn't grow it. You've just elongated it. Now what's gonna happen? You're gonna be oh like bro, just be you.
Just be you.
Just be you. Do you
Well, I think this was a great episode.
to all the hard gainers out there.
I hope it helps some of you, even just with shifting your perspective on gaining. It's not the easiest process.
It's all hard. Everything has its challenges.
Yep.
Losing weight's challenging. Putting on weight's challenging. Endurance athletes challenging.
Mm-hmm.
It's all
Each thing has its own unique set of challenges along the way.
Nothing, everybody's journey is different, and everybody's insecurities are different. Everybody's goals are different. So, like, everybody's just working on themselves and, wanting to feel good about it. So,
so awesome.
Awesome.
Glad you could be here today.
Yeah, well, Fat Thor always shows up. I'm hungry.
I know, me too. Can we go eat breakfast?
Let's go get some breakfast.
All right, y'all.
Shout out to everyone in Europe that listens to us.
Oh, yeah, because we were looking at stats and stuff.
Yeah, like I love that. Like, I'd love for somebody like to tag us and just like send us something. Let us know that you're listening. I love that.
Yeah, we had listeners in Australia, in Africa, and Europe.
I'm not going to try any accents. I was doing it the other day, and I wouldn't do that to somebody. I'm sorry. Maybe you could like send an impersonation of my horrible accent.
Oh gosh.
Hi y'all. Anyway, Fat Thor here.
All right, we are out of here. Until next time.
I'm Brittany.
You didn't do it right. You're always the sign off.
Oh yeah, I'm James.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Macros, Mindset, and Muscles. Until next time.
I'm James.
I'm Brittany. We're out.